Hey guys, before we start, you may be wondering why the cat character is here instead of my main character Star. This is Mouse and Dust. I just haven't gotten to redrawing Star's little talking PNGs, and Mouse and Dust are a lot easier to animate. So, getting into it, I know that this is kind of late into the season. To be honest, this video has been sitting here for a while, and this is going to be covering all my Artfight prep, which, if you don't know, Artfight is a online art trading game that only happens once a year for a month of July. It's really fun, and I completely recommend participating if you have the time. I want to just clarify that the audio for this video is probably not going to be the best. It's going to be unscripted, and I'm still using a phone microphone, and so the audio is probably going to sound a little grungy. Just as a quick note before I get into the first design, you'll notice that I sometimes pull out another reference sheet, or I'm tracing over the reference sheet of the character I'm drawing. That is something I sometimes do to save time and energy, just trying to get basic proportions and whatnot, because Artfight is just around the corner, and so I find that sometimes either drawing things on paper or trying to occasionally pull out the reference sheet that I used last year or one of my other characters' reference sheets helps me to save time, energy, and not be burnt out before Artfight. But getting into the actual design notes of this character, you'll notice quite a few things have changed about him. His name is Sun, and I made him back in 2023, and it seems like every year he changes some. It's kind of funny. You'll notice that he no longer has those patterns that he had before. I felt that they made him too regal, or too overly complicated, if you will. So I felt that they were unnecessary, and I ended up removing them. The other thing you'll notice is that he's a drake now instead of a dragon, and that's because originally he was considered a bad flyer, and I thought it would make more sense for his character if I just made him a drake and removed the wings entirely. I also think that that made his design really cool. You'll also notice that he has fur now, on more than just the few select places he had fur prior, and that's because he's supposed to be a hybrid between one species of dragon I have called a Spark Phoenix and some other mystery dragon. Spark Phoenix are a species I made quite a while ago, but they are really fluffy when they're young, and then they lose that fur and become kind of like a more scaled dragon as they adult. But I figure it would make sense to give him that fur, just to tie into the original species he's supposed to be kind of based on that I made. I thought it would be more interesting for the stomach flame. I imagine the fur on his stomach can just like set on fire and like become the blaze, if you will, which you can kind of see in the head bust shot. I also made his whiskers thicker because they were kind of just strings prior. I think it's really cool to see how I develop in my art over the years, which is why I enjoy Artfight so much. Like, one of the things I noticed this year is that I've gotten a lot better with some proportions, legs, and fur and whatnot. The next character I cover, I struggled with her design, to be completely honest. Her name's Midnight, and I had her back in intermediate school, so I know I've had her for a long time. Her design actually stays pretty consistent. I tried changing it last year, but I decided to go back into simplification just because I never illustrated her whenever she had that more complicated and patterned design. You'll notice that I really struggled with this one proportion-wise. I for some reason was having some art block that day, and so I ended up completely redrawing her and trying for the best, but her design is more simple, and I'm not as proud of it as some of the other ones I've completed. but I'm still really happy with her reference. Midnight is a shape-shifting dragon, which is really fun to play around with. I thought it was fun that whenever I finished this reference sheet, I then went on and animated her hand shape-shifting into a paw. I thought that would be really fun to add. Unfortunately, trying to turn it into a GIF kind of killed the quality, so on Artfight I uploaded both the normal reference sheet and the one with the animated hand. Midnight is considered like a guard dragon as well, and so I decided to give her some torn scales and like a couple other details. And I kept the jewelry because she originally had jewelry, but I guess over the years she kind of lost that, so I gave it back to her last year, and I decided to include it again this year. I'm still happy with her design, and I think she turned out well, and I think that's all I really have to add. So the last character I ended up illustrating is Bluebird. I've had him for a good while too, I think since 2022. He's the only Wings of Fire character that I have so far updated the reference for. He's a Rainwing, and he's a little fun because I get to play around with certain expressions as he has pretty severe anxiety, and he's constantly nervous, although for good reason, as he has a special ability I created, which was called Ghost Sight. Essentially, he can kind of just see, like, spirits everywhere. He has this Animus enchanted necklace that causes him to come into contact with them, which has caused him a slew of problems, as it was intended to. I think maybe in the future I might add scars or something to imply some issues or whatnots with maybe angry spirits. So far, he's just kind of got a set design, but I liked making him just a solid blue dragon, as he has been for a good while. His design hasn't changed much since last year, but it was fun to update and give him better proportions. I hope you enjoyed the video, even though it might have been a bit rambly, and I hope everybody has a great Artfight season.